Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And I got to go back in on Chicago again, my hometown. I try to follow them very closely. Even though I'm here in St. Louis, I go back and forth to both places. But we got to talk a little bit about Chicago. But before we do that, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. I appreciate all my followers and trying to come up with great informational content to keep you engaged on subject matters that are taking place in our country and throughout the world and in many of our major cities. But right now, Chicago, Illinois is going through a mess with Mayor Brandon Johnson and the leaders, politicians, and legislators from the state government all the way down to the city. As we all know, Chicago has become a sanctuary city, and they are bringing migrants in by the drove. It's getting ready to be, it's wintertime now, and this displacement of many of these people from warm climates like Mexico, Venezuela, are not used to this windy city cold weather, and they have them living out in tents, and that has become a real problem that's costing the city $30 million a month. But the bigger picture that is taking place in Chicago, very similar to San Francisco, is they have a 30% vacancy rate in downtown Chicago and the surrounding areas. As you may be aware of, Walmart and Whole Foods have left the urban cities in Chicago because of the shoplifting, stealing, and looting. And now you're seeing many more of these corporate businesses that are now leaving Chicago. Tourism is down. There's a large hotel vacancy taking place in downtown Chicago. Many businesses are not doing their corporate meetings in Chicago here recently as a result from this gun violence, these killings, and a lot of this devastating and destructive behavior that's taking place in Chicago. And all of this needs to change immediately in order to uphold the vibrancy of one of our top 5 major cities. And it doesn't seem like the politicians are doing a very good job, and a lot of our corporate companies and small businesses are fed up with it and are leaving. So 1/3 of all these businesses have left, a 30% vacancy rate. And we're talking about major corporate companies that are right on their Magnificent Mile, which is looked at as the Rodeo Drive of the Midwest. And something needs to happen. We're losing our moral aptitude for having a positive, constructive existence in many of these urban cities, and that needs to change. People are going to stop visiting places like Chicago. San Francisco has been decimated with egregious negative behavior, but places like the state of Illinois, Chicago, the state of California, LA, San Francisco, with these liberal laws where you can steal up to $1,000 a day and not get arrested. This Safety Act in Illinois and this no cash bail system in LA County is driving up the business of criminal activity to a certain degree. Chicago is already inundated with dilapidated urban schools where 2/3 of the grammar school students are not reading at an appropriate grade level. All these kids, due to social media and entertainment and athletics, want to put their entire bag or bundle for success into one or two places like sports and entertainment when there's 1,000 other jobs and careers that a young person could venture off into to have a successful life. But this heavy promotion of athletics and entertainment, when less than 1% of any of these young kids are going to get an opportunity to make millions of dollars in the entertainment arena, they're living in a fallacy that does not exist and is going to continue to go to the root of the problem of our middle class suffering and our moral and ethical boundaries being extended far beyond our own capable reach. So we have to come up with some kind of plan, one person at a time, reach and teach, to maintain a healthy city such as Chicago. You're seeing a lot of deleterious and devastating acts being done in St. Louis, Missouri, also with gun violence, assaults, murders, and we gotta figure out how to have a healthy existence in society. So Mayor Brandon Johnson, we gotta do a wake-up call. Chicago has had several years of gang and gun violence and unemployment, inept inner city schools, and now they have toppled it with this migrant issue that is making things even worse. So Chicago has to wake up. It's been a major city and a major hub for many of our corporate companies and airline companies, and you have the Chicago Board of Trade there, but Chicago is slowly falling apart, and we need to get a handle on it before it completely falls apart. So I wanted to do a short video just expressing my concern for Chicago. Very concerned about the tourism, people visiting, the health and overall wealth of the citizens of Chicago, that are very upset about this migrant crisis and what they're going to do with them. Businesses are leaving. There's 30% vacancy rate at this particular juncture, and I do not want Chicago to turn into a ghost town. San Francisco has been the perfect model on how to self-destruct with the homelessness, the opioid crisis, the joblessness, mental health issues, and Chicago is falling right behind a close second. So you have two of our very major cities historically that has had a lot of money in and out of those cities, like San Francisco over the years, Chicago over the years. Chicago has a lot of history, a lot of great history, historical things that have taken place. And Michael Jordan came out of Chicago with the Bulls, Oprah Winfrey, first black president, Barack Obama, just to name a few. And it is heading in the entire wrong direction. There are a lot of resources and there's lots of money that are being lost as a result of all of the negative behaviors and things that are taking place with our politicians and the citizens of Chicago. And that needs to change, and we need to have a discourse on how to make the city better, healthy, and positive. So let's have a PhD in common sense. Let's manifest our truth in the right direction. Let's talk about these issues in places like Chicago and San Francisco and LA and St. Louis, Kensington, Philadelphia, and let's try to come up as citizens with some solutions on being loving and good people, and put pressure on our legislators and our politicians to do the right thing and restore our cities back to some kind of health and wealth.